Hi everyone, this is another video about ingredients to avoid if you want clear skin. Alright, so the ingredient today that I will talk about that you would want to avoid to get clear skin is dyes. So artificial dyes. So artificial dyes are kind of an ingredient that I put in as a petroleum byproduct. So for one, it's a petroleum byproduct, and just like the last ingredient that I talked about, it's something you want to avoid. You know, all petroleum byproducts is something to avoid because it's affecting your hormones. It can basically, they're classified as hormone blockers or an endocrine disruptor. All right, so dyes are on this list. So I've noticed that every time I consume dyes, blue dye, red dye, yellow dye, anything with a number attached, anytime I consume a dye, I personally will break out. And this is something that I notice happens every single time. And the way the breakout looks is that it'll kind of like appear as like these bumps that just like randomly appear. Some like above my lips, some like in my cheek area. Like really they can appear anywhere, but they appear as small bumps. All right, so this is just another ingredient that you'll want to avoid to, again, minimize your breakouts to help you to get clear skin. All right, so these bumps last a few days and then they're gone. So they're not a horrible breakout, but it's still something that causes your skin to have acne, right? And the whole purpose of this is to avoid all the ingredients that can cause you to have acne, and then also to get a good skincare routine that will take care of everything else. All right, so dyes are the ingredient to avoid in this video. If you find this information useful, remember that Carla's Corner will always provide useful information to you if you subscribe and let me know that you enjoy what I'm putting out there. All right, so let's get more into dyes. First of all, what is food coloring used for? Like, why do we even put it in our food to begin with? Why can't we just leave it the color it naturally is? So the thing about food dyes is that they are used to make your food more attractive, more appealing to eat. The whole thing about Skittles, you know, about having every Skittle be the color of the rainbow, is because, you know, it's colorful, it's pretty, it's beautiful. You want to eat something that you perceive to look good. You want the orange Skittles to taste like orange. You want the purple Skittles to taste like grape. You want your red Skittles to taste like cherry or strawberry or watermelon. You want your Skittles in the color of the flavor that you're eating, right? So you have all of these different colors that they add to foods to one, kind of promote that taste, and two, and when I say promote taste, I mean they just want the color to match the food item. Because keep in mind, dyes do not affect the taste at all. Well, they can make it taste a little off if you're not used to consuming them, but dyes are only used purely for aesthetic reasonings, just to make the food look good. And that really is all. That is the only reason for why they put dyes in your food. There are some foods that they put dyes in that you would kind of be surprised at. You know, you're thinking, oh dang, was that really necessary? So like there are dyes put on oranges to make the oranges appeal more orange, because they're probably picked super ripe, right? They'll be picked super ripe, and they might have still like a green pigment to them, who knows? But they basically add dye to the oranges to make them appear more orange. You know, they kind of trick our brains in that way. Another thing they add dyes to is, you know, aside from Skittles, is like other sweets, other candies that are marketed towards kids. They also put dyes in baked products, especially frostings. If you ever go to the store, you'll notice that there's a lot of dyes in frostings. You think even white frosting, you're thinking, how could dye possibly be needed in white frosting? Or even yellow cake, vanilla cake. Dyes are used in these things, and it's really not necessary. I mean, who knows? Dyes are used in pain medicine. So if you go to the store, you go to CVS or something, and you get some pain medicine, well, guess what? There are dyes in those pills, which is really ridiculous. It's like, was that really necessary? You're swallowing the pill. You don't need it to look pretty, right? It's a white pill, but you don't really need it to look pretty. You just want to, consume a pill to get rid of your pain. However, there are dyes in some pills. I always get like the dye-free pills because I don't want to consume dyes because I know that they break me out. All right, what are some other things that dyes are in? Like they can be in the casings of sausages or hot dogs. There's dyes used in so many items. It's a good thing that they're starting to phase these dyes out. However, I've noticed that, these dyes are even found in cereal. Like, why? Why are your dyes found in cereal? There are so many other ways they can get something to look pretty. All right. Pop. A lot of, like, even 7-Up, Sierra Mist. Like, there are dyes in these foods. It's crazy because, like, dyes are something that were banned in other countries, but just not the US, I guess. I don't know why they haven't banned it here, because it can lead to so many different problems, but I'll talk about that later in this video here towards the end. All right. So again, there's various reasons for why dyes are used. And then they're just found in so many products. Like what I do when I'm trying to figure out is if a product has dyes is that I always look at the ingredient list. And if I go to the end of the ingredient list, and it's typically towards the end, I'll see something that has like a color and maybe a number by it, and I just avoid it. I just put the product back and I don't consume it, especially if it's in like a sweeter dessert, because that's really the areas that I find that are the most difficult to avoid are in the desserts. But luckily, a lot of companies are phasing the dyes out. Like cereals, you'll see paprika, you'll see natural dyes begin to substitute what used to be those artificial dyes that you see. All right. So other reasons for why dyes are used are to correct natural variations in color, enhance colors that occur naturally, kind of like those oranges, to provide color to colorless and fun foods, like those Skittles that I mentioned, to make food more attractive, appetizing, and informative. You want the dye to be in the color that you perceive the food should be in, right? Like dyes are even put in pickle jars, like to make the pickles look, I don't know, more yellow. I don't know. But dyes are used in pickles too. So they're just used in so many places, and it's really only to make the product look more attractive to you. And really, they need to find other ways to do this. All right. So there are like 7 main artificial dyes that are used. Something called brilliant blue, indigo teen. It's like a dark blue pigment. Fast green, FCF. It's like a bluish green pigment. Allura red, erythrosine. It's kind of like a pink pigment. Tartrazine is a yellow pigment. Something called sunset yellow. But again, like all I have to do to avoid the dyes and what I eat is look at the ingredient list. So also, I don't avoid dyes in just the ingredient list. I also avoid dyes if I see them like in my skincare products. If I pick up a skincare product and I see it has a dye in it, I put it back. Like that's putting it directly on my skin. That's going to cause me to break out, and it's going to defeat the purpose of the skincare product. Also, ladies, avoid makeup that has dyes in it. It's just cheap anyways. Like you really, especially like if you're paying a lot for your makeup and it has dyes in it, like that's messed up. You're paying that much for no reason. You don't want to put makeup on your face that has these dyes in it, because it will cause you to break out. All the things that you want to avoid putting inside your body, you want to also avoid putting them on your skin. You also want to avoid making sure that your shampoos don't contain these ingredients. You just want to stay away from them entirely, all right? There are a lot of natural substitutes that can be used in replace of these dyes, all right? So iron oxide can be used. I've found that iron oxide does not break me out. Ferrous gluconate or ferrous lactate, I found that these substances don't break me out either. And the thing about these items is that like it's found in olives or on the sausage casing. So I've just noticed that it doesn't break me out. It might break you out though. So I would just always as well just pay attention to what you consume. And if it breaks you out, then don't consume it. Other like natural dyes you can use instead are caramel, annatto. So that's like the reddish orange dye from the seed. Beet powder. There's something called cochineal extract. It's like red dye from a cochineal insect. Now that's just disgusting. I mean, it's considered natural, but I, if at all possible, would never consume it because it's just nasty. It's from a bug. All right, so beta carotene. It's like the red orange-ish pigment you get from carrots, actually. Toasted and partially defatted cottonseed flour, fruit juice, vegetable juice, carrot oil, paprika, riboflavin, saffron, titanium dioxide. So this is another one that kind of has a lot of controversy around it. Like I personally don't break out from titanium dioxide, so I don't avoid it. I also like to use titanium dioxide in my toothpaste because it's actually the whitener that helps to whiten your teeth. Now, again, I understand that some people personally don't like titanium dioxide because there's a few studies linked to that. However, after consumption, I've noticed that it doesn't break me out. So it's like I can't avoid everything. So I'm just going to avoid the ingredients that I think are contributing to me not having clear skin, because that's what's most important to me. Like I can't avoid all sugar. I'm not the type of person to avoid everything. I just think that you should avoid it, especially if, you know, there are some very concerning facts about it. And then also if it breaks you out, especially if you're trying to get clear skin, because who doesn't want clear skin? Tomato lycopene and turmeric. So these are all natural dyes that can be used in place of the artificial dyes. And what I've noticed is that a lot of companies are actually switching to these natural dyes because the consumer is becoming more aware, and they've said enough is enough. We don't want to put that in our bodies. A lot of the artificial dyes have been banned in other countries, but just not the United States. And so that's something to consider. If a dye has been banned in another country, then like that happens for a reason. That a whole country is banning an ingredient, that doesn't just come out of nowhere. It happened for a reason, right? Because so these artificial dyes that have been banned, they are linked to cancer, ADHD, allergies, hypersensitivity, asthma, and also hyperactivity. So I remembered the red dyes, like there's so many articles that came out. So if your kid suffers from ADHD or hyperactivity and they consume a lot of red dye, you might want to consider slowly taking that out of their diet. And after you've taken it out of their diet, if you notice a difference, then I would say just make sure they're not consuming it. All of these ingredients that I'm listing, even though they help you to get clear skin, by avoiding them, just avoiding these ingredients can also just help you long-term in your health as well. And there's so much research surrounding the negative side effects from these ingredients that I really highly suggest you look on your own as well. And just notice that like these are not ingredients you want to put into your body anyways. All right. So I'm sure there's so many more things that I can say about dyes. However, I just kind of want to keep this video short and concise. And if you find this information useful, then I hope you come join me next time at Carla's Corner so I can talk about the next ingredient, which is a very common preservative, and I will speak about it next time. I'll see you then. Thanks for coming, and please subscribe, especially if you found this video useful. Bye-bye.